This is the Louie Tee Network.
Louie Tee Live. Who else could it be? For me, your man, Louie Tee. Welcome to the season preview for the NFC South. This was one of the most live shows last year. It was a lot of fun. I expect this one to be a little tapered, a little bit later on in the night. I'm running a little late, and I got to tell you why. I know you don't give a damn, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So I live by the interstate, and there was a serious accident outside my door. I could hear it, and I ran over to the window, and a car hit the rail. It smashed into it and flipped around, and it was crazy. So I'm looking out the window. You know how we are, man. Cats be straight being nosy as hell, and so I'm outside on the balcony looking. Paramedics and stuff outside, and lost track of time, and I apologize. So in any event, I'm glad that you guys could join me for this breakdown. And we got to get to a number of things with this division, because I think this is one of the most competitive divisions in all of football. And so I want to talk about this NFC South division. I'm on Twitter, so if you happen to be watching this and you want to comment and you want to do it via Twitter, please, by all means, do so. At In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle, so go ahead and do that. I'm also going to check the comments via the actual live stream, so if you want to leave a comment there, make sure you use the hashtag Louie Tee Live. Same with Twitter. If you want to have your comment read, use the hashtag Louie Tee Live. And so before we get to the actual breakdown and how it's going to be done, I'm watching Hard Knocks just like I'm pretty sure the rest of you are. And matter of fact, Hard Knocks is probably on right now. And so if I'm a Bucks fan, I'm probably not watching this breakdown. I'm watching Hard Knocks. But in any event, Roberto Aguayo was probably one of the most talked about signings that the Bucks had once upon a time, and just last year. And I talked about it ad nauseum about how the Bucks made a mistake. You don't spend the second round pick on a kicker. And not to mention, it'd be one thing if this guy was a lights out kicker and I believed in him. This guy was a kicker that I didn't have much belief in. I didn't think he was that good. I didn't think he warranted a second round pick. And not only did they spend a second round pick, they also traded up in the draft to secure his services. So I thought they went above and beyond the call of duty. And I thought it was definitely not warranted. And so that was a situation where I really picked on the Bucks all last year because of it. And he struggled in this preseason. And can't say that I didn't see it coming, because I didn't believe in him last year. I didn't believe in him when they made the selection. And because of his struggles in the preseason, they had had enough. They had seen enough. And they got rid of Roberto Aguayo, a.k.a. the GOAT. And it hurt my heart to see him be shown the door and handed his pink slip. And right now, what I want to do is I just want to take a second, and I want you all to bow your head and remember the career, the Buccaneers career, because he did latch on with the Chicago Bears. And my blessings and all of my well wishes go out to Roberto Aguayo. He's still the GOAT in my book. And I just want to send out my condolences to his career in Tampa Bay. And right now, I want to take a moment of silence to recognize the career of one Roberto Aguayo in Tampa Bay.
Broncos won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning retired. 49ers won 5 games and Tom Sula got fired. RG's in Cleveland and my Rams hit the West Coast. Be sleepless in Seattle, cause that 12 man ain't beast mode. Oh yeah. I knew it was something I forgot to mention. Yeah. Old Tom Brady about to get that suspension. Yeah. I know the Pats fans probably think that's whack. Yeah. But at the end of the day, your balls was flat. It's that time again.
His career was only 15 months. So, with that being said, in the books, let's jump into this breakdown, one that I'm really excited to get to. It's the NFC South. And, of course, we're going to start with the team that had the best record, won this division, and made it all the way to the Super Bowl, and probably should have won the Super Bowl a season ago, the Atlanta Falcons. So let's jump into their schedule. And how I'm going to do it this year is I'm going to give you my predictions from last year, give you their overall record from a season ago to see how it matched up with what we predicted or what I predicted a season ago, give you their offseason acquisitions and some key losses, and then we will do their predictions live on this program as I go through each and every single contest as I'm sitting here with you guys. So with that being said, I also want to talk about some different storylines in this division. And I think the first storyline that I think of with the Falcons this year is the dreaded Super Bowl hangover. And that is what we always talk about. But I want to talk about this. To me, the Super Bowl hangover is fake news. Okay, that's a false narrative that we made up as fans. And the media did that. I think you look at a team like Carolina last year, Super Bowl hangover. They got cursed because they lost the Super Bowl. They have a hangover. If you go back to the last 10 Super Bowl losers, only 3 of them didn't make the playoffs the next year. Okay? So there's no hangover from losing in the Super Bowl. Now, I will say, this is one of the most detrimental, gut-busting, gut-punching losses we've ever seen in Super Bowl history. Granted, however, there is no such thing as a Super Bowl hangover. Like I said, there are only 3 teams in the last decade that missed the Super Bowl or missed the playoffs the following year after losing the Super Bowl. And it's teams that aren't customarily in the postseason year in and year out. So Atlanta would fall into that criteria. Carolina fell into it last year. They came out of nowhere. Arizona in like 2008, when they played the Steelers, lost in the Super Bowl. They didn't make the playoffs the next year, but they're not a team that goes to the playoffs each and every single year. So it's not like it's all the teams that generally go every year. Your stalwart teams, your league big boys, your Steelers, your Patriots, your Broncos. These are the teams that they lose the Super Bowl or they don't win the Super Bowl. They come right back the next year. These are teams that we're accustomed to seeing win. Seattle, these are the teams that go, they lose, they come right back to the playoffs the next year. So Carolina, not a team that goes to the playoffs every year. And so they lost the Super Bowl. It hit them in the gut. They don't come back the next year. They had won 3 straight divisions. They were due for a letdown, and it happened last year. But I don't think the narrative of, Super Bowl hangover is going to loom over this team's head unless they allow it to. I think that's a false narrative. With that being said, let's jump into their predictions from last year. And I thought they were going to be 6-10. And I took a lot of flack for the 6-10 prediction last year. And I want you guys to call me out on these. When I make a prediction like this, and my biggest rationale last year for the 6-10 mark was they had too many young players. They were going to be relying on too many young boys to get it done. And I just had a Falcons fan, Delilah, hit me up just about a week or so ago and kind of rub it in my face once more. 6-10, like it's always fun to go revisit those videos to see what people thought what was going to happen before the season started and how it matches up to what actually, and only the fans of the teams that actually do well go back and watch those videos. If your team stinks, you're not going to go back and watch someone talk about your team because they underachieved or they stunk just like everybody said they would. So it's generally the fans of teams who overachieve that go back and watch those videos so they can rub it in your face. And she came back and was like, 6-10, huh? Thought we couldn't rely on the young boys. And she was right. And she had every right to rub that egg all over my face. So I thought they would go 3-3 in the division. They went 11-5. And honestly speaking, after they lost in week 1 to Tampa Bay at home, I said, yep, that 6-10 looks about right. Because remember, the big stretch of games that we talked about on their schedule last year was that little conglomerate that they had early on. Home at Carolina, at Seattle, and at Denver. It was at Carolina, at Denver, at Seattle, in that order. And they beat Carolina, put up 40 on them. They beat Denver and did it impressively. And then they went to Seattle and had that game and let it slip through their fingers. But that stretch of games showed me that this team isn't what I thought they were going to be, and they're going to be a lot better. And that propelled them to that 11-5 mark, 5-1 in the division. And that's where you take care of business. That's how you win a division. You take it from a 3-time champion. You don't go up and you ask them kindly, can I please have the division? No, you go and you punch them in the mouth and you take the division. And when Atlanta went to Carolina early in the season and put up 40 on those boys, put a 40-burger on their skull, that let me know they weren't playing around. They were looking to take this division. And so their only loss in the division came in week 1 at home to Tampa, a loss that they would avenge later on in the season at Tampa in a really good competitive football game. But nonetheless, off-season acquisitions, they go out and get Don Terry Poe, sign him to a 1-year deal. We'll see how that works out for them. They re-signed cornerback Desmond Trufant. Remember, in the season, they re-signed their other cornerback, and we thought there was no way they would re-sign Alford and Trufant. Well, Trufant got hurt last year, missed a good portion of the season. Alford balled out, got the contract in the season. Trufant gets his after the season. And what do you know? They kept that nucleus in the secondary together, and we didn't think it was going to be able to be done. We thought it was going to be one or the other. It turned out to be both. Devonta Freeman, another guy that was instrumental in them making it all the way to the Super Bowl. He's got to stay healthy. He's already dealing with a concussion. If he can stay healthy, he's one of the highest paid backs right now in the league, and he earned every penny of it. He runs hard, can catch it out of the backfield. I want to see how he lives now without Kyle Shanahan being in that backfield as your offensive coordinator. That stretch run game, to me, accentuated what Devonta Freeman does well and does best. 1 foot and 1 cut, stick his foot in the ground and go much faster than slow. We'll see if the Falcons adopt that moving forward with their new offensive coordinator. Kamal Ishmael, safety, special teams guy, really physical safety, like him a lot. Matt Schaub back in Atlanta. Came back when Kyle came to Atlanta, and you know him and Kyle have a rapport. He's going to stay. So it's amazing to me how these backup quarterbacks leave the nest but always find their way back home. They always eventually come back home, and there's no place. Ask Dorothy. There's no place like home. He's back with the Falcons. And Courtney Upshaw re-signed as well, and so did tight end Levine Toilolo as the Falcons keep really the nucleus of what they did last year together. Did have some key losses, however, none bigger than offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan. Say what you want about the Super Bowl loss. You're not there without Kyle Shanahan. I'm anxious to see how they are able to put things together this year with their new offensive coordinator coming from the college ranks. I'm anxious to see how that all meshes together. Tyson Jackson gone, but you replace him with Don Terry Poe, so I think that's a win for you. Dwight Freeney no longer there. He was a pass rush specialist, but you're hoping that the young fella, Tack McKinley, is able to fill those shoes and fill them much better than Freeney was able to. And Patrick DeMarco, your fullback, no longer in Atlanta either, as we go from the Falcons and their prediction from last year to the prediction this year. Let's take a look at the schedule and see what we can come up with for this Falcons team that I think is going to bounce back from that Super Bowl loss in a major way. So let's clear the board of all of these wins and losses and start anew, because this, just like the Falcons getting a clean slate this year, we're going to clean this thing on up, and we're going to start fresh. So let's start fresh with the first game of the season. And we find the Falcons traveling out to Chicago to take on the Bears. A Bears team that I think is going to be very competitive this year, but not good enough to beat a team like the Falcons in week 1. And so the Falcons are going to get that one. You go to week 2 home. This is a big game. New stadium, and this is what the good old folks at NBC did last year for Sunday Night Football. A new stadium being opened up. You bring a raucous crowd there. Last year, it was the Minnesota Vikings opening up a new stadium against who, you ask? Oh, it was the Green Bay Packers, who promptly went in there and had themselves a whale of a ball game. So I'm looking forward to seeing the same thing, but the Vikings were able to get that done, and I'm assuming the Falcons will be able to do the same here, even though I will tell you, Aaron Rodgers, bad man. Remember, that bad man went to Atlanta and got spanked a season ago. The crowd is going to be raucous. That place is going to be lit. That's going to be a win in the first ever game in the new stadium in Atlanta. And so we're going to go ahead and give them a W. And that's going to be a fun game to watch. So I will say that. But I expect them to find a way to get it done there. Then you go to Detroit. This is a trap game. The Lions are a scary team. You don't know what you're getting from them from week to week. You go to Ford Field. It's eerie in there. You could easily go in there and slip up. I could see the Falcons not getting a W there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give them an L there. I just think the Falcons going into Detroit, it's a tough place to go and get a W. I could see them not coming out of there with a win. So they take their first L of the season. But they then rebound week 4 at home against the Buffalo Bills. That's a win, and that takes them to their bye week at 3-1. They come out of the bye week, and they're at home again, and I see them doing the same, winning again against a Dolphins team that I don't think is going to be up for the challenge on the road against a tough Falcons football team. You then get a big boy matchup. If this one was at home, I'd give you, matter of fact, I like you in this football game. I may regret this because you don't go against the Patriots. I know better, and when you know better, you do better. But I got an eerie feeling that this team is going to be out for blood in this game. They want this one bad. They know they had the Patriots right where they wanted them, dead to rights, let them off the hook last year. I think there's a revenge factor here in this game on Sunday Night Football. I think this is a great spot for the Falcons to exercise some demons in that football game. The following week, you get the Jets, and that's a game that you must win. If you have any intentions of repeating as NFC South champions, you got to beat the Jets. That's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. At Carolina, the Panthers want back what's theirs. It's going to be tough. I don't know if they're going to get it back, but they're going to do their part at home to get back what's theirs. I'm giving the Panthers the W at the crib. That should be a lot of fun because these two teams, they play a good brand of football when they play against one another. Remember, when the Panthers were undefeated 2 years ago en route to the Super Bowl, the Falcons were the one team that stood in the way and knocked them off. This is going to be one of those games where I think the Panthers are going to get up for the Falcons. They were embarrassed by this Falcons team last year in Carolina. They are not going to allow that to happen again. Falcons at home against America's team, Jersey boys. Big D taking on these Falcons in Atlanta. That's going to be a fun football game. One that I think the Falcons can, should, and will win. I will give the Falcons another W there. I think this is a team on the rise, and that young defense can get after Dak Prescott and make him uncomfortable. With those cornerbacks on the outside, they should be able to play some tight coverage and really force the issue. Got to stop Zeke Elliott in the run game. He'll be back by then. We'll see what they're able to do. Monday night at Seattle, I do not like this spot. This is another return to the scene of the crime type of game. Last year, you feel like the referees jobbed you late in that football game. Don't blame the referees. You had opportunities. Matt Ryan threw a big interception late to put you in a bad spot. You had every opportunity to steal that game. You didn't. And I think the Seahawks are just a tough outfit on primetime television, Monday Night Football in Seattle. That's a tough ask of anybody, including this really game Falcons football team. Then you come back home for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that went into your crib last year and disrespected you with a win. You're going to get this W here over the Buccaneers in week, what week are we in now? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're going to beat you in week 12. So you're going to get this W here for the Falcons, which puts you at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8-3 into week number 13, where you're going to be at home against the Vikings. If this game were on the road, I would take the Vikings, but this game is in Atlanta. And if that home field advantage is anything like you had at the Georgia Dome last season, I fully expect you to take care of business. And because of that, I am going to give you the W here against this Vikings team that plays good defense, but I don't know if offensively they're going to be enough weapons there to get the W there. Then you go Thursday Night Football, home again, and this is a fun game always. Saints, Falcons on some type of primetime outlet. This time we're getting Sunday Night Football. Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, locking horns. Usually a high-scoring affair. I don't see this being any different, but again, I don't trust the Saints' defense, and they could be better this year. You hope that they're better, but I don't trust their defense to stop this Falcons offense. I'm taking the Falcons in that football game, but I am not taking you the following week on Monday night primetime once again, this time against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a young game Buccaneers team who knows how to play this Falcons team, believe it or not. And because of that, this one's going to be an L for me on Monday Night Football late in the season as we get to Week 15. Then you come again, Saints 2 times in 3 weeks, this time on the road in New Orleans. I think you start to have a little bit of a slip up late in the season. I'm taking the Saints here in this game as the Saints avenge the loss the prior week or 2 weeks prior on Christmas Eve with this W. And so you take an L here and you finish up the season at home with a chance to get the Panthers back. Panthers may need this game for a playoff spot. You may need this game to lock up the division depending on how things shake out. I don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule. I do know this. You're going to get them back this time. They will not sweep you in 2017. And because of that, you will finish up 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, might as well just count the losses. Not too many of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 11-5, which is what you finished a season ago. You will duplicate that in 2017 if this team is legit offensively. Losing Kyle Shanahan, a big deal. I know you want to really take that and make it minuscule, but that's a big deal. You cannot dismiss what Kyle Shanahan meant to this football team a season ago. I'm anxious to see how Steve Sarkisian comes in and implements his scheme into this Falcons offense and see if he can get this thing going in the right direction. And so let's go to your comments. I want to see how you guys feel. Nothing on Twitter. So I want to go and check you guys out and see how you feel about this Falcons football team in 2017. So let's see what we got. I hope so. I hope everybody's all right, Nick, as well. That was crazy. But anyway, Aiden Wynn says, who you got winning the Super Bowl this season? I don't know. I don't do Super Bowl predictions. It takes a lot out of me just to give you these predictions because I don't like doing before the season predictions. But in any event, here we are. My man Reese says, Lou, you should be worried about Chris Baker. He hasn't done much. Lou, should I be worried about Chris Baker? He hasn't done much in camp. We'll come back to that when we get to the Bucs. We'll come back to Chris Baker, and I'll read this comment. Let's read the whole comment so I can have it in my mind when we get back. But he says, should I be worried about Chris Baker? He hasn't done much in camp in preseason and seems to find excuses to sit out. Is he just like that pre-regular season? We'll come back to that. I'll give you my opinion on that. I appreciate you joining me, Ree. I know Hard Knocks is on. I didn't expect a bunch of y'all Bucs fans to be here, so I appreciate you checking me out. Smoke says Bucs will finish first or second in this division. We'll see. A lot of people, I told you, last year it was y'all drinking that Jags juice. I told you put the cup down. This year, a lot of y'all drinking that Bucs juice. that Bucks brew. That's what we're gonna call that. That Bucks brew. We're gonna see if that Bucks brew is gonna get you drunk and get you in trouble, or if that's gonna be some good stuff, having a good time with it. Let's see. Brian Emerson says, we did make the playoffs in 2009. We beat Green Bay in that crazy overtime game. Yeah, you did make it back. I think it was the next year that you might have missed the playoffs after that. See what else we got. Falcons Fury says, "Sup, Lou? We built to last like Duracell battery, ready to kick some ass. Our offense ain't missed a beat in the preseason so far. Preseason is preseason, bruh. But I have confidence that if this roster is healthy in Atlanta, and Julio Jones hasn't even played, and I watched him against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they moved it right down the field. Mohamed Sanu seemed like he caught 80 passes on that drive, and they got into the end zone with Teron Ward carrying the rock. So I think this is a Falcons team that definitely is built to last. I think they've got what it takes to get it done, and so we'll see. We'll see if they stay out there. I got confidence that they can at least duplicate 11-5, maybe even be better. So we'll see about that. BE says, I got the Falcons 12-4 with a 4-2 divisional record. I didn't even check to see what I had them doing in the division. Let's see what I got them doing in the division. I got them at 11-5, and I got them probably going 3-3 if I'm not mistaken in the division. 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3. Yep, 3-3. So 11-5, 3-3 in the division for the Atlanta Falcons. Getting back to your comments, Falcons Fury says, he said, get some help, man. We ain't losing to Detroit. I don't know, man. Detroit, tough place to play. Matthew Stafford he's loose cannon, man. You never know what you're going to get out of him. Last year, he had the late game heroics. If it's close late, he could be a guy that could hurt you. Sean Mack says, I can see the Falcons going 10-6, maybe 11-5. Dark Sealer 1995 says, where would you put Matt Ryan at when it comes to top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, and who's on your top 5? Matt Ryan right now is not in the top 5 of quarterbacks in the league still, but he's in the top 10 for sure. And I remember before the season started, remember, I was asking, was Matt Ryan worth the money, and was he I didn't even have him as a top 15 quarterback before the season started, but with the season that he put together, he deserved the MVP trophy. I'm looking at Matt Ryan. Let's see. Rodgers, Brady are right off the bat as your number 1 and 2. Breeze is still doing it at a high level, so I would put him ahead of Matt Ryan right now. You still got Roethlisberger. There's still enough of those types of guys. Phillip Rivers that I still respect, even though he doesn't have a ton of talent around him. There's still a number of guys that I probably would still put ahead of Matt Ryan. He's probably somewhere in that 7 to 8 range right now in terms of quarterbacks in the league. But Matt Ryan he's ascending, and he's a part of that next wave of quarterbacks that when these old guys retire, your Breezes, your Roethlisbergers, your Bradys, they retire, he's going to ascend to the top along with some of these other young quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers will then, I think Rodgers is 1 now, and he'll stay 1 until he's done. And then you'll have the guys like Ryan move up the list when those guys move out of the way. So we'll see what happens. Let's see what we got. Nick Riley says 11-12 wins for the Falcons. Let's see what else we got. Smoke says people are sleeping on the Saints and Bucks. In my opinion, I think the Saints will improve, and the Bucks have a lot of firepower on offense. Their defense needs to be better. Let's see what else we got. See, I think I skipped some comments. Here we go. Matthew Lynch says, W versus the Pats. I don't know. With the Pats defense and Tom and Gronk. That was one I sat and I thought about for a long time, but I'm going to give that one to the Falcons. This division's got the best offenses in the league. Yes, it does. And collectively, they've got the best quarterbacks of any division in football. All 4 of their quarterbacks are top-notch guys, and I don't think there's another division in football that can say that right now. Bossaholic says, I don't think the Saints D or Panthers O can keep up with the Falcons 13-3. Falcons Fury says, hey man, after looking at the Falcons lose the Super Bowl, that solar eclipse ain't shit. Hey, that ain't burn your retina though, but it's burned into your memory bank for sure. Falcons Fury says, Sark's play calling in preseason so far. Also, how do you like Tack? Well, Tack made his debut last week. I didn't really see that much from him. I wasn't overly impressed. I wasn't a huge Tack fan coming out of UCLA anyway, so we'll see what he does. He just got his feet wet against Pittsburgh. As far as Sark is concerned, I thought the play calling looks eerily similar to last year thus far. I like what he's doing. I think what he did was he sat down, he watched a lot of what worked last year with this football team, implementing a lot of that. He's going to throw his own wrinkles into the mix, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think that's the kind of theory he's going with and that he's adopted with this football team. Slump says, give us a quick rundown of the Cavs Celtics trade. We need to know your thoughts. That's for another day, man. But that's epic. I'm going to get into that at a later date and time. But let's see. Damon Brown says, we're going to beat the snot out of the Falcons. LOL. Probably not, but go Bills. You missed your breakdown already, Dane. You must have been at work. Let's see. My man Smoke says, which defense do you think is the best in this division? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. My man Ryan, top 5, maybe 6 quarterback. Is he overrated? Colin Cowherd is on cooked crack. Nah, he's not overrated. I mean, it's all in what your perception is. Of course, you're not going to put him in front of the legends. You're not going to put him against up over Brady, Rodgers, Brees for me, or Ben Roethlisberger. So if you wanted to slide him in after that, knock yourself out. I mean, there's an argument to be made for Phillip Rivers, who I still think is doing it at a very high level. There's some other guys, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing some other players out there that are doing it at a high level that I'm not considering right now. But I would think those would be the 4 untouchables that you would put in front of him, for me at least. And some people may not even want to put Breeze ahead of him. I'm a Breeze guy. I think Breeze is still an A1 quarterback in this league, and I still think he's one of the best in the business. So with that being said, Dirty Bird Jamel says, thoughts on the Falcons' young defense. I thought they performed well, especially late in the season last year going into the playoffs. You could see the light bulb coming on for those young guys, and if they continue to mature and grow in this offense, and if Tack McKinley, I'm not a Tack fan. I've already said that, but if he is what the Falcons perceive him to be, and remember, it took Vic Beasley 2 years for the light bulb to come on. That may be the case with Tack as well. But if Tack is what Vic Beasley has been for them, or it was for them last year, if he eventually grows into that, it's a dangerous football team. Dontari Poe coming over should add a little bit of presence in the interior of that defense. I'm really excited to see what they do. They get a healthy Desmond Trufant back. This is going to be a fun team to watch for sure. See. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. You changed your name. All right, DG Productions. I didn't know that was you. Okay. That's what's up. All right. So, with that being said, that's the Falcons. Want to move on to the team that finished second in this division. And my man at T Muhammad 23 says, I got Atlanta at 9-7. Okay. And that's coming from a Panthers fan. And so that 9-7 sounds like he's got his Panthers coming back for what he probably thinks is rightfully theirs. And so with that being said, we'll jump into the next team, the team that finished second in this division, a team that a lot of you out there are really feeling right now, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so let's jump into the Buccaneers and what they were able to accomplish a season ago. And this is a team that surprised me last year, surprised a lot of you. We saw this coming. We saw them trending in the right direction. I'm a Jameis Winston fan. I think he's a good quarterback with a bright future in front of him. And you knew that if they could just start surrounding him with more talent, that this could be a guy that could take off into NFL stratosphere of quarterbacks. Now there's no denying the amount of talent that he has around him with Mike Evans on one side and D-Jax on the other. O.J. Howard at tight end along with Cameron Brate. Don't forget about Cameron Brate, as my man Ree always says, let's make America great again. And so you got 2 tight ends, 2 receivers. They like Chris Godwin as well. Throw him in the mix. There are a number of guys out there. They got a little slot guy out there that I like as well, little white guy that can catch it. So there's enough talent out there for this team to shoot up in this division. But again, they're young, and there's something to be said about young and learning how to win. That being said, I put them at 7-9 last year. I thought they were going to go 2-4 in the division. They ended up 9-7. So flip-flop, inverse of what I gave them. They were 2 games better. Same thing with the division. They were 2 games better in the division. I didn't anticipate Carolina being as bad, which allowed them to get some wins there. Remember, that Monday night game with Cam Newton out was a travesty. The Panthers should have won that game easily, but thanks to D.A., one of the worst backup quarterbacks in all of football. Yes, I am a Derek Anderson hater. They lost that football game. And a lot of that was play calling too. They should have ran the football. They were on the 1-yard line and they tried to throw it like 3 times and end up throwing an interception. But whatever. In any event, they end up winning some games in the division. I didn't see them winning. I didn't see them winning in Carolina. I didn't see them winning in Atlanta week 1. And so they were on the road getting it done. And so this is a team that got it done last year. Can they do it again and at a higher clip? Let's talk about their offseason acquisitions. And this is part of the reason why a lot of people think the Bucs are due for a huge step in the right direction this season. You start with wide receiver Deshaun Jackson. By far and away, the best deep ball receiver this league has seen over the last decade and a half. His ability to beat guys over the top, his ability to try. I think he's got the best ball tracking skills of any receiver in this league. That combination of speed and ball tracking ability makes him dangerous on every single snap. And we talk about all these guys with speed. You know, John Ross coming into the league with that 4.22. I still put my money on Deshaun Jackson. His acceleration is ridiculous, and Jameis Winston can get it to him. That's going to be a fun combination to watch. Defensive tackle Chris Baker. Ree already talked about his frustration and maybe a little concern, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Robert McClain coming over, ex-Falcon, ex-Panther, so he's very familiar with this division. Place kicker Nick Folk coming in there, and he's been struggling, but I think he's better than what you had at kicker Roberto Aguayo, a.k.a. the GOAT. Quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm never comfortable with him being on my roster because somehow, some way, by hook or by crook, he ends up getting in the starting lineup. And so that doesn't bode well for Jameis Winston. That probably means at some point he's going to break a finger, miss a couple of weeks, sprain an ankle. Something's going to happen to Jameis Winston where he's going to miss 2 weeks or 3, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to have to play. I hope I'm wrong, but it generally turns out this way where this man, him and Josh McCown, wherever they go, they find their way into the starting lineup some way, somehow. And finally, they re-signed William Golston as well, a big defensive lineman and that helps them stop the run. Key losses, Mike Glennon. You always feel comfortable when you got a guy that you trust as a backup quarterback, and he was that for them, which is why they never traded him. Alteron Werner never lived up to the contract that he got in Tampa. He's out. And place kicker Roberto Aguayo, a.k.a. the GOAT. We already said our goodbyes to him earlier in this breakdown, and so I hope he has a successful career in Chicago. Good luck to him, but it did not work for him in Tampa Bay. So, quick storyline for this Buccaneers team is we've seen them on Hard Knocks. We know that there's a lot of people banking on the Bucs to take the next step. I think that's the storyline with this football team is, can Jameis Winston, can this offense, can this football team take the next step? Can they go from a tough out? Can they go from a nice story? Can they go from a team that you don't want to play to a team that is legitimately a playoff contending football team in 2017? That to me is the $1 million question. And let's answer that question, shall we? Let's go through the Bucs 2017 schedule and look and see what we have in front of us. So we start on the 10th of September, week 1. They're at Miami. This is a game that I think they're going to lose. I think they have every opportunity to win this football game. But if this one were at home, I think I would actually give them the win. But because it's on the road, I don't know if I trust this young football team to get it done. And so because of that, we're going to start them out with an L. The next week, they're home for Chicago. You want to make the playoffs, you got to beat the Bears at home. And so I got them doing exactly that in week number 2. So you go from there to week 3 at Minnesota. Boy, I don't like that spot. I don't like them on the road there. If this game were at home, maybe I'd feel differently. But Minnesota at home, that defense against Jameis Winston, I think this is the type of defense that could give him some problems. And because of that, we're going to go with a loss here in week number 3 to the Vikings. Week 4, they have a week 4 bye. So one of these teams with an early bye. I'm not a fan of the early bye, but what can you do, right? So they get a week 4 bye. They come off, no, that's not a week 4. That's not a bye week. That's week 4 football against the Giants at home. That is a winnable football game. And again, that's not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. Veteran quarterback in Eli Manning. He's a guy that will do some dumb things if you can put pressure on him. Can the Bucs put pressure on Eli Manning? If not, I said on another breakdown that the game that will tell me how serious they are about making the playoffs this year is probably going to be that game at Buffalo. This Giants game is another one of those games for me. If you're serious, you beat the Giants at home. I don't think you're serious. Therefore, I'm not giving you this win. So we're going to give them an L for the Giants game. One that I could be wrong about, but I don't think I am wrong. I think they're going to lose this game. And so because of that, we're going to give them an L. So we move on to Thursday Night Football. Short turnaround. New England Patriots at the crib. Winnable ball game. Tough ball game. But you're not going to win that game. Obviously, I'm not rolling with you there. But that's another one of those games. Tough opponent at the crib. I would love to see you do some damage there and open some eyes. You want the attention of, the young, hot team. Go beat the Patriots on Thursday night. Short turnaround. Go get that W. I'm not giving it to you. You're going to have to take that one. But I think you got a shot there. At Arizona, so you get a little bit of a break. Obviously, Thursday Night Football, 10 days off. Then you travel to Arizona. This is a spot where you expect them to lose, but this is where the Bucs go on the road and win a game they have no business winning right here. Taking the Bucs here on the road in Arizona. I don't like Carson Palmer. I think the Cardinals have an issue at quarterback. I think they go on the road and get that one. Here's the game that I said, if the Bucs are serious, you got to win this game right here. If you are serious, and at this point, we are looking at your schedule. Week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a make or break week here. You're 2-4 right now. Okay? Possibly 3-3. We'll see how the season breaks. This could make or break your season. On the road, Buffalo, tough place to play, but a winnable football game. I told you I don't believe that this young Bucs team is as good as everybody says. So because of that, I give them another L here. But I think this is a game that you could easily win. And it wouldn't shock me in the least if you actually ended up winning this game. But I just don't see it. Carolina at home, you can beat the Bucks. And you can beat them. And you will beat them at home. You're not going to Carolina and winning. Even though you won at Carolina last year, had no business winning that game. But you can beat Carolina and you can beat them at home. So I will give you the W here. You went to New Orleans and you won, what was that, 2 years ago? I don't know if you went there and won last year. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember that game. I remember 2 years ago you going into New Orleans and winning. It wouldn't shock me if you went into New Orleans last year and won. It wouldn't shock me this year if you went into New Orleans and won. For some reason, y'all do a really good job against Drew Brees. And that's that family business right there. I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I think you can go in there and win. Y'all are not afraid of those boys in New Orleans. You're not afraid of them in New Orleans. The Jets, everybody beats the Jets, except the Jags. So that's a freebie for y'all. Hey, don't miss the bunny. Don't miss the layup, man. Put that in the basket, all right? Easy W here. Go get it at the crib. Then you get your bye week. So you got a late bye. That's a good bye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You get bye in week 11. That's beautiful. At the bye week, you sit at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5. So you got a shot sitting at 5 and 5 to come out of the bye and do damage. What are you going to do? First game out the bye. On the road at Atlanta. That's a game that you can get. You've went into Atlanta and won before. But it won't be this time. At Green Bay. Damn, boy, they ain't do you no favors after this bye, man. I'm sorry. I can't mess with you. That's another L. So now you're 5 and 7. Home for Detroit. You can get that one. You can beat Detroit at the crib. If that was in Detroit, you'd lose that game. But you can win that game at home. Atlanta at home. Prime time, Monday Night Football. If I'm not mistaken, let's go back to the Falcons' schedule. I believe I gave you that one. And I did. And I think you can win that game. I really feel like you can win that game. And so you're going to give yourself a chance late in this season to make the postseason. Another win, 2 in a row. Gives you an opportunity. Now you're back to 500 at 7 and 7. You're going to need to win these last 2 games. At Carolina, buddy. Not happening. I'm sorry. Not beating the Panthers in Carolina. Just not gonna do it. So that's gonna take you to 7 and 8. Now the best you can do is 8 and 8. And I'm sorry to tell you, but New Orleans is coming back for that dub. You took one from them at their crib. Now they're coming back to get one from you at your crib. And really, it don't matter. Either way, they can beat you at home. You beat them at home. Y'all splitting is basically what I'm getting to. And so, there you have it. Bucks finished the season up, or excuse me, that is a loss. Bucks finished up the season at 7 and 9. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's see what they do in the division. You go 1 and 0, 2 and 0, 2 and 1, 3 and 1, 3 and 3 in the division. 7 and 9 overall, which is, if I'm not mistaken, what I did to you last year. Let's go back. Last year, 7 and 9, 2 and 4 in the division. So you're 1 game better in the division this season than last, but the record remains the same for me. I just think there's a lot of hype surrounding this team, and I don't think they're going to be able to live up to that hype this season. Maybe next year. But I don't know. I think this is a young team that's just not ready for everything that's coming their way quite yet. It's one of those situations where everyone's crowning you. If you want to crown their ass, then crown their ass. But you start listening to what everybody's telling you, and you forget that you actually got to go out and make what everyone's saying true. And I think that's what's going to happen to the Bucks in 2017. So if you are still out there on Twitter, go ahead and tweet me. If you are in the comment section, want your comment read, hashtag Louie Tee Live. So let's go through these Bucks predictions that you guys have. Damon Brown. And so let's go back to the Buccaneer questions that I got earlier. One from my man Ree, who asked about Chris Baker. Chris Baker is a guy that will frustrate you at times because very talented. He'll go under the radar at times, won't make any plays, but then he'll show up and make plays at other times. He'll never be your best, but he'll never be your worst either. And so he's going to be solid. You're going to get some quality play out of Chris Baker. Don't you worry. He's not a fan of preseason, never has been, and most veteran players aren't. He was never a guy. That was one of the issues in Washington. He never liked to practice. That's part of the reason they got rid of him. He hated practice. He's a game guy. He's a gamer. Doesn't love what practice brings to the table. He wants to show up and get it done on Sundays, and you'll see the best of Chris Baker on Sundays, to answer your question. As far as Damon Brown is concerned, he says, is McCaffrey a legit downhill running back? I don't think so. He says, how exactly are the Panthers going to use him? We will talk about Christian McCaffrey and his fit in the Panthers scheme a little bit later on when we get to the Panthers breakdown. Mr. T Money 1993 says, I got Atlanta going 9-7, losses to Green Bay, Lions, Pats, Panthers, Bucks, Seahawks, and Panthers. So he's got the Panthers sweeping them. Go figure. Let's see. Smoke says the Bucks got a steal with O.J. Howard. Fell right down to him. Let's see. Sean Mack says, Aguayo the GOAT. As a key loss, bro, time for rehab. Hey, he is a key loss, man. When you spend a second-round pick on a kicker and you trade up, so that means you spent, in effect, 2 picks on him, that's a key loss, man. That's a loss to your ego. Yeah, that's a loss to Jason Light's ego. See now. Slump says, you're right, Fitzmagic does always start a game or two, but when he's given that backup role, he balls out. It's when he gets paid that he suffers. We'll see. We'll see. I don't like Fitzpatrick in any setting. I think he's a quality-ass backup, though, like you said. Well, one of those guys that all I ever want from my backup is that something happens when they come in the game. Either you're going to throw a touchdown pass or you're going to throw an interception, but do something. You know, he's one of those guys that can win you a game, he can throw you out of a game. So we'll see. Dark Sealer 1995 says, Robert's no was so bad. I think a football he kicked landed in my backyard. Yeah, he was pretty bad, man. Sean Mack says, I can see the Bucks going 7-9. That's what I have them going this year, and 3-3 in the division. BE says, I got the Bucks going 7-9 with the 3-3 record in the division. Oh, and the Cardinals beating the Bucks. B red, C red, he says. All right. Because I actually have the Bucks beating the Cardinals. He says, Reese says, so disrespectful, Lou. You have us finishing worse than last year. What? He says, I don't have you finishing worse than last year. I put you at 7-9 now. If you're talking about your overall record, yeah, I got because you know what? I think that the team itself is drinking that Kool-Aid. We're good. Everyone's predicting us to win, And so I think that mindset starts to seep in, and you haven't put in the work yet. I haven't seen this team win the games that they're supposed to win and win the games they're not supposed to win. It's either one or the other. And until they can consistently string together some victories, and this is not an easy schedule, okay? There are a few layups up there, but you got to go to Buffalo. If that game was at home, I'd much rather you have the Jets on the road than the Bills on the road. If you would have had that game, I think that's the situation where you win both of those games. You know what I mean? So it's a tough schedule. The division is tough. We'll see what happens. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you guys are better because I like seeing young teams come of age. But we're going to see. Let's see. I think I skipped some comments. Here we go. See, Vincent Phillips says, now that I look at the schedule, I don't have the Bucks going to the playoffs. Dizzy Diz says, I see why they are hyped. This schedule might body them. Dolphins, Bills, and Cardinals are winnable. Also, the Vikings might serve a better indicator to show what they're really about. I think there's a few games on that schedule. That Bills game is winnable, and that's why I said if they're a good team this year, they need to go on the road and win that game. I think that's a measuring stick game for them. If they go on the road and beat Buffalo, that is not an easy place to play and win. If you go on the road and beat Buffalo, then I will take them seriously. That Minnesota game is another one of those games where I look at it and I say, on the road, tough opponent, good defense, they can run the football. Can you go into a tough, hostile environment and win a game? There are a number of those games on this schedule that I don't know that they're up to the task of getting. And that's why I got them at 7-9 right now. Mo Hunnit says, I got the Panthers going 10-6, Bucks 9-7, Saints 8-8, and Falcons 8-8. This division is really competitive. He says, they played the AFC East, which is weak. All the O's could be top 10. Yeah, I mean, that AFC East is garbage, but it just depends. We don't know what Miami's going to be this year. You don't know what Buffalo's going to be. You look at on paper and say, oh, that's a win. That's why I really hate doing this. And to me, it's an exercise in futility because you don't know what the Dolphins are going to be. Did you think the Dolphins were going to be 10-6 last year? No, you didn't think they were going to be 10-6 last year. The Bills are there. You don't know what you're getting from Tyrod Taylor and the Bills week to week. Bills fans don't even know what they're getting from the Bills and Tyrod Taylor week to week. So you can say that schedule is weak, this, that, and the third, and then you get in the season and the AFC East. Everyone thought the NFC East was going to be garbage last year. NFC East turned out to be one of the best divisions in football last year. This could be the same thing with the AFC East. I doubt it because the Jets are in this division. But again, you get where I'm going with this. Sean Mack says, I'm with you, bro. I think Tampa Bay is a year away. And that's basically what I'm saying. I think it's going to take one more year for them to realize what they've gotten. A lot of these guys got to come in and mesh. Some of the young players come in, mesh. And I think next year, that's when they take that huge quantum leap forward. Smoke says, Bucks can surprise people. They can. The question is, will they? We'll see. Kendall Ford 1 says, Bucks have way more talent than Atlanta on offense and defense. That's a shitty record prediction. I don't believe they have more talent on offense and defense. I think they've got comparable talent on offense. I still think that the Falcons' offense on paper is still one of the best in the league. And defensively, I don't think the Buccaneers have the same amount of talent as the Falcons. I think the Falcons have more talent defensively than the Buccaneers. So we'll see what happens. Just the cornerback position alone, the Falcons are much better than the Buccaneers are. But in any event, and do the Bucks even have anybody that can get to the quarterback consistently? Do they have a double-digit sack getter on their team? Gerald McCoy might be the best pass rusher you got. There's no way they got more defensive talent. Dre True Statement says, LOL, although I think the Buccaneers will have a winning record sipping the juice, you were tripping if you think they will beat my Falcons on that Monday night game. I don't know. I think they can. They can go into anybody's stadium with the exception of Carolina and win in this division. Carolina seems to be the one place that they struggle. They should not have won last year. They won that game because Cam Newton didn't play. But everywhere else, they'll go into New Orleans, they'll go into Atlanta, they'll win in those buildings. They don't have a problem doing that. No doubt about it that I think they can go on the road and win. That's one thing they have proven to me that they can do is they can go on the road and win. Mo Hunnit says, give me a way stop McCaffrey. Oh, give me a way to stop McCaffrey or Cam on third down. I can't think of an idea. It opens up everything. Can't play down because McCaffrey can run. Can't put a linebacker. It opens up Cam's legs. Mr. T Money says the Bucks go 10-6. He's always been a Bucks guy. I think he had the Bucks going like 10-6 last year. So he's always been a Bucks guy. Blue, let's see what we got. Smoke says Falcons will have a Super Bowl loss hangover, in my opinion. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. Reese says we beat teams like Seattle and Kansas City in Kansas City. Hashtag Louie Tee. What? Yes, you did beat Kansas City in Kansas City, and that was a head scratcher. But remember, you are an Alex Smith interception in the end zone away from losing that game. I don't want to make any excuses. You made the plays when they had to be made in that ball game, but I feel like they gave that game away to you. Seattle scored, what did they score, like 8 points in that game? Now, your defense was legit, but Seattle was going through an offensive malaise at that time, and you just happened to be the beneficiary of it. Now, look, your defense, they bottled up Russell Wilson, but he was struggling at that point, and your defense had enough athleticism to contain him and really make him make some bad decisions in that game. Yes, you had some games last year. However, that was last year. This is this year. We're going to see. We're going to see. Again, shoot me. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'm just a messenger, man. I'm just a messenger. Okay? All right. Let's see. Noah Spence, Lou. Hashtag Louie Tee Live. Is he a double-digit sack getter? Yes or no? Has he gotten double-digit sacks in this league already? Did he get them last year? I don't recall him. I thought he had like 8.5, somewhere in there. If he can make that leap to 10, 12 sacks, you got one. But until he does that, anybody can get you 6 to 8 sacks in this league. I see guys do it every year. Can he go over that double-digit threshold? We'll see. And my man, Mr. T Money 1993 says, Bucks haven't had a double-digit sack guy since Simeon Rice. And that's what I'm saying. It's hard in this league to get sacks. We'll see what happens. But I see a lot of Bucks fans jumping me. And I don't have a problem with that, man. And again, just like Falcons fans did me last year, if the Bucks turn out to be 10-6, 11-5 this year, you know where to find me. Come back. You can leave a comment on this video. You can leave a comment on a future video saying, oh, yeah, 7-9. How about that? I'm here. I'm not going to run from mine. But 7-9. Just know, if you go 7-9, I'm not going to run you down and throw 7-9 in your face. But just know, I was right. But we'll see what happens. Let's go to the next team in this division last year who finished third, the New Orleans Saints. And they're a team for me. They're just a middle-of-the-pack team every year. And I've struggled with them organizationally because I never seem to really get a feel for what they're doing. One offseason, they're trading away Kenny Stills and Jimmy Graham. The next offseason, they're trading away Brandon Cooks. I never seem to have a handle on what exactly it is they're trying to accomplish. Always seems like they're trying to get out of a money hole. And it seems like they're running around in circles every year. And when you run around in circles, you end up at 8-8. And that's why I put them at 8-8 last year and 3-3 in the division, which is the epitome of average. And they ended up 7-9 and right around almost average, 2-4 in the division. I was a game off. I feel the same way about the Saints this year, like I did last year. And I had them 8-8 the year before that. They're just a middle of the road. Because of Drew Brees, they're never going to be 5-11. Because of Sean Payton and Drew Brees, they're never going to be 4-12, 5-11, 6-10. Those two are too good together. But what they will be is 7-9, 8-8. If the ball bounces their way, 9-7, until the defense gets better. And I like some of the moves they made in the offseasons, the draft, and you're getting some guys back from injury. They went out and they got some guys in free agency. They're trying to do it the right way. But then you get rid of Brandon Cooks, and I'm like, Brandon Cooks, Ted Ginn Jr., Brandon Cooks, Ted Ginn Jr. What are we doing here, folks? So, I don't know. We're going to find out. Drew Brees seems to make everybody better when they come to New Orleans. So, we'll see. But let's get to the storyline for me with this Saints team is what I've already mentioned. The defense. I know what I'm getting out of Sean Payton. I know what I'm getting out of Drew Brees. If he's healthy, they're going to have a shot to win 10 games. Then you take a look at the defense, and that's when you start subtracting games. When you put together a combination like Brees and Payton, you start at 10. And then you say, okay, is the defense good enough up front to stop the run? You take away a game. Is the defense good enough up front to get pressure on the quarterback? You take away another game. Now you find yourself at 8-8. Is this defense good enough to stop teams from outscoring the Saints? And that's how you could take away another game and end up at 7-9. We're going to see. Is this defense ready to help this offense win? Point blank, end of discussion. If Adrian Peterson still has gas left in the tank, can help them, because a lot of people, it's a misnomer that Sean Payton just wanted to throw the football all over the yard. He would like to run the football. You give Sean Payton a credible running back and credible run game, he'll run the football. And he likes to stay balanced. And it's going to open up play action fake. And a guy like Ted Ginn Jr. may flourish in this offense if Adrian Peterson and Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram all of a sudden just forge this three-headed conglomerate back there. They can run it. They could turn out to really control the time of possession, quick strike you, all at the same time, and the biggest thing there, keep the defense off the field. That may be the best thing about that run game. You see the Cowboys do it every year. Their defense hasn't been good in years, but the defense doesn't look that bad because they're controlling the pace of the game with the run game. The Saints can do the same. Could be talking about a different year for the Saints in 2017. So I predicted 8-8 last year, 3-3 in the division. They went 7-9, 2-4 in the division. Offseason acquisitions, Adrian Peterson, already mentioned that. Ted Ginn Jr. at receiver plucks him away from intra-divisional rival Carolina. Larry Warford coming over from Detroit at guard. You know, they love to make sure the interior of their line stays intact because Drew Brees is so short. He has to have a pocket from which to step up and throw. The guards are more. That's why you see the Saints spend more money on the guard position than they do the tackle position because they need the interior to be clean for Drew Brees. They went out, and I think this is where the biggest difference on this football team may lie in 2017. The linebacker position, they went out and got Manti Te'o, who's never healthy, but we'll see if he can stay healthy. A.J. Klein is a guy that I think in Carolina never really got an opportunity to start. You saw just a glimpse of what he could do when Luke Kuechly was out with the concussion last year, and I thought he played well enough for the Saints to say, hey, come on board and start for us. I'm going to see what I've watched them. I watched them against the Chargers on Saturday night, I believe it was, Sunday night. I actually thought he looked good in the middle of that defense. And so I like that. And then Chase Daniel, like I said earlier with Matt Schaub, backup quarterbacks always find their way home. They go out, they look for the grass being greener on the other side, realize that it's brown on the other side, and bring their ass back home. Chase Daniel, no different. Key losses, that Brandon Cooks receiver loss is going to hurt. I think that's going to sting. But Drew Brees is really adept at making other guys around step up. Jarius Byrd never really lived up to the contract that he got at the safety position. And I think you're going to be A-okay without him in the lineup. Tim Hightower was a guy that got touches, but you got plenty of backs now. That's not a concern of yours. Nick Fairley, that one hurts. You know, he has the heart situation, not going to be able to play this year. And Donnell L.A.B. already injured for the season. That's going to sting as well. So, you know, it's a defense that really needed guys like Fairley and maybe even L.A.B. to play, and those guys are already injured. We'll see what happens with this Saints defense. To me, that's the key. Drew Brees is going to make it work. He's going to make it work. And I love the talent in the backfield. You know how I feel about Alvin Kamara. We saw the 50-yard run on the first handoff of the game against the Chargers. He's dynamic. He's electric. Adrian Peterson in that backfield. Mark Ingram, don't forget about him. There's enough stuff out there to get it done. Drew Brees will make those receivers good. And don't forget, they got Michael Thomas, the rookie from a season ago out of Ohio State that lit it up last year, and I think he's poised to light it up this year. They're going to be fine offensively. Defense is the question. Let's take a look at their schedule and see what the Saints have coming their way this season. You start out on, Monday night. You get the doubleheader, first week of the season. Saints are going to be at Minnesota on Monday night in that first game of that doubleheader. I don't like at Minnesota at all. If that were a home game, I think I would take them. It's a road game, so I'm not taking them. I'll take Minnesota in that first game of the season. Then you got New England at home. I really think you can win that game. I really do. I just don't trust your defense to stop Tom Brady. And as much as I want to give you that one, I can't, and I won't. So 0-2 right out of the blocks. And that's a tough way to start the season, man. At Minnesota and then home for New England. They're asking for you to start 0-2 on the season. That's tough. Then you're at Carolina, a place that you have won in the past. You don't have a problem going to Carolina and winning. I don't see you going to Carolina and winning, however. And so just like that, right out the gate, you're 0-3. And that, I remember one year, you started 0-3, 0-4, and I left you for dead. I really did. And I think you ran off like 4 straight games, got back to 500. But that took so much energy. Do you know how deflating it is to win 4 straight games, look up at the standings and say, damn, we just got back to 500. And that's what you did that year. And then after that, the bottom fell out of your season. Starting 0-3 is so tough. You're at Miami, but it's not really a road game. It's London. You're going to win this game. But now you come home, you get a bye. So you're 1-3 going into the bye week. But there's a little bit of momentum there, right? You come off the bye, and you get Detroit at home. Detroit is another one of these teams, not afraid to come in your crib and smack you in your mouth at your place. I don't think it was. It might have been last year, but I know for sure 2 years ago they went in your house and smacked you around and got a W on a Monday night. I don't think you're going to allow them to do that this time. I think you're going to protect the dome. So I'm going to give you a W here. I'm going to give you a dub. At the crib versus the Lions. Then you go to Green Bay. You know I don't like that matchup. Not one bit. So that's an L. Then you got the Bears at the crib. Look, the Bears, they're not going to be a bad football team, but they are not ready. You have to win that game at home. Then you got Tampa at the crib. If I'm not mistaken, let's go back to Tampa. I think I gave Tampa this game because Tampa will be coming in your house and disrespecting you. And sure enough, I gave Tampa that game. And I don't feel bad for that because I've watched Tampa enough to know that they are not afraid to come in your house and take a W from you. And you just stand there and watch them. And so I got to be the bearer of bad news here, but I got to give you a L on that one. At Buffalo. We already did the Bills, and I think I gave the Bills this one. I don't know. I think I might have gave this one to you. I think I gave that game to you. I'm gonna give you this one. I could easily see you losing this game, though. It wouldn't shock me if I gave that one to the Bills. Then you're at home for the Redskins. That's definitely a game I can see y'all winning. At home. I'm going to give you that Redskins game. I just don't trust the Redskins defense. But the Redskins can definitely come in there and beat y'all, but I just don't see that defense stopping you from doing what you want to do. If that were in Washington, I would give that to the Redskins, but it's not. At the Rams, I think you can win that game. I expect you to win that game. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a W there. Home for the Panthers. Boy. Boy. I so want to get the Panthers this game, sweep your ass. Just because I don't trust you against the Panthers. Because I really think the Panthers are going to have a bounce back year this year. I think the Panthers are going to sweep you, man. I do. I wouldn't be shocked if you get this one, but I'm not giving it to you. I think the Panthers are going to get you twice. At Atlanta, no. So you started to play good football there for a while. Your schedule got a little soft, and you started playing some good ball, and you started winning some games. But all of that is coming to an end right here. All right. So let's see where we are. You got 3 games left on the schedule, and all 3 of them are winnable football games. So let's see where we are before we get to these final 3 games. You start 0-3, then you win the next 2 to get you to 2-3. You lose at Green Bay, but then you win against Chicago the following week at home, 3-4. You lose at home versus Tampa, but then you win 2 straight to get you back to 500 at 5-5. Matter of fact, you win 3 straight to get you over 500 at 6-5 before dropping 2 straight to drop to 6-7 on the season. You're going to beat the Jets. Everybody beats the Jets. Everybody beats the Jets. Doom. So that's going to get you back to 500 at 7-7. Falcons at the crib. Let's see what we did. I gave you that one. And I think you can win that one. So that gets you to 8-8. And that gets you to 8-8. And then I got you splitting with the Bucks. So let's see. That means you would win this final one here. What do you know? After starting the season 0-3, I think you might have just got to 9-7. Let's see what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses. Yep. 9-7. You finished the season on a 3-game winning streak. And you get to 9-7. Will that be good enough for a playoff spot in the NFC? Doubt it. No, we'll see. 9-7. That's not half bad. Let's see what you do in the division. So what that tells me is I think your defense is going to be better. And I actually do think your defense is going to be better this year. But I also think your offense is going to be different in the sense that they can control time of possession. Adrian Peterson can kind of grind teams along with Kamara and Mark Ingram, take a little bit of the pressure off of Drew Brees, and he's still going to go play action fake and drive it down the field. And so you will go 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 0-4. You go 2-4 in the division. So you can't make the playoffs with 2-4 in the division. You know that you're not allowed with a sub 500 divisional record. So 9-7 for the Saints. Let me put this in my database. So we had the Falcons at 11-5, and the Falcons were 3-3 in the division. We have the Buccaneers at 7-9 again, and they too were 3-3 in the division. Then you got the Saints at 9-7, and they are 2-4 in the division. And so let's see what you guys got to say about the Saints. My man T Money tweeted me and said the following. He says, Bucks 10-6, losses to Vikings, Giants, Pats, and everybody once in the division. So he's got them 3-3 in the division as well as I do. And he says Dolphins had one win against above 500 teams last year. So with Tannehill, so I can't trust them. But Tannehill's not starting this year. That's going to be Jay Cutler. So we're going to see what that does for him. And I think he also sent me one more tweet. See if I can pull that one up as well. We'll get back to that. But let's go to your comments and see what you guys have to say about the and he also says Saints go 6-10, losses to the Vikings, Pats, Panthers, Dolphins, Packers, Rams. Damn, he got them losing to the Rams too. Panthers, Falcons, Bucks. So he's got them losing to the Panthers twice, Falcons twice, and the Bucks. So he's got them 1-5 in the division. Yikes! I think Sean Payton and Drew Brees together, they'll never finish 6-10. I think with those two together, they're always good for at least 7-9. I think the one year they went 5-11, 6-10 was without Sean Payton. With those two together, I just can't see it. Let's get to some of your comments. All right. See where we are. All right, here we go. Kendall Ford says, this is why we play this game. We will definitely prove and put the league on notice. # Buck Nation. I hope you do. I like the young teams. I like to see them flourish. Reese says, who can stop Mike Evans? Who can stop Mike Evans is tough. He's a big boy in this league, and he can get it done at a high level. But the Bucks, to me, the only team that can – the Bucks are going to stop the Bucks. That's who I think are going to stop the Bucks. Kay Francis says McCaffrey will win offensive rookie of the year. Vincent Phillips says Saints go 8-8, and that's to me the safe prediction with them is they're always hovering around 500. Kay Francis says I got the Saints going 6-10. A lot of these, and Kay Francis is a Panthers fan. A lot of these in the division fans think that the Saints are gonna stink, and nobody knows these guys more than the teams in the division, so we'll see. Dre True Statement says, Aints go 7-9 for the third straight season. Peyton is fired. Loomis is on suicide watch and fired as well. We'll see. I just never know what these boys are doing in the offseason, though. You know, Loomis is sketchy at best. I love Sean Payton. We'll see. We'll see. Dark Sealer 1995 says, it's sad that Drew Brees hasn't won more Super Bowls because of incompetent management. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. That and some bum defense. Sean Mack says Peterson won't do ish because Kamara is going to beast it up. Well, you know they're going to start out with AD getting carries. I think AD still got something left in the tank. Even though he's up there in age, 2 of the years in the league, he didn't even play, really. So I think there's still some tread left on those tires. Vincent Phillips says Saints could go 9-7 and still be the 10th seed in the NFC. I think that's what. And look, they only go 2-4 in the division. The way I have it drawn up, they can't make the playoffs that way. They cannot make playoffs like that. Klein versus tight end and running back will be a struggle, and in this division, that's an issue. Mr. T Money says, how you don't know that they won't take him off the field on third downs? They may know his weaknesses. They probably do know it. A lot of times, these teams in the division, they study other teams' players. They know what his weaknesses are, and they probably feel like we got a guy that can run with tight ends and running backs, and we're going to take him off the field on third downs. I could be wrong. They could see him as a 3-down linebacker. I think they know his weakness and that he's a first and second down linebacker. But we'll see. Sean Mack says, I foresee the Saints going 8-8. Y'all give my man Sean Mack a follow on Twitter at McKenzie18425. Let's see. Dizzy Diz says, make those L sweeps against the Panthers in 68 size font. Let them know they whip hard. Nah, man, I ain't gonna do it like that. But I did have the Panthers sweeping the Saints. BE says, I got the Saints 3-3 in the division and 8-8 overall. Let's see what else we got. I actually got a video coming out about this, but the Falcons put a Chick-fil-A in their new stadium, Lou, but it's closed on Sundays. Hashtag Louie Tee live. I got a video coming out about that, so you stay tuned for that. Real Fact says, is Winston the next NFC South quarterback in line to win the NFL MVP? 2 straight coming out of there. That's a good theory. Question is, will his team play well enough? Will he play well enough? There's still some maturity issues with Jameis Winston on the field. We saw that in the game on Monday where he threw the football up for grabs versus Jacksonville. Okay, luckily enough for him, he was down and they ruled it incomplete, but you can't do that. That's nonsense. He's still learning. There's still mistakes to be made. He's a young guy, and that's why I don't think he's there yet. One more year, maybe. Reese says, I can't wait until Drew Brees retires. You and everybody else in that damn division, I bet. So, with that being said, we're going to go on to the final team in this division, and that is the Carolina Panthers. A team that really was hurt by injuries a season ago. That Super Bowl hangover, which I don't believe in, I don't subscribe to. It hit them hard, man. And let's face it, they had won 3 straight division crowns, but no one, even Panthers fans, didn't see the ride that they went on in 2015. Came out of nowhere. It was nice. It was a fun story, but they came crashing back down to earth. The field goal kicking game hurt them. We saw that first game of the season. Injuries hurt them. They weren't the same team. They got rid of Josh Norman. Dave Gettleman's an idiot. That's why he's no longer there. And so once that Josh Norman release was a sign of things to come for them in 2016, and their season did crumble right before their very eyes. But I'm going to tell you what. If Cam Newton is healthy, that's a huge if. The storyline here with the Panthers is this is a new look team. I'm anxious to see what this team looks like. And of course, we've seen Christian McCaffrey in the preseason. Preseason is different than the regular season. I want to see what they have in store for us come regular season when Cam Newton is in that lineup right next to him. And then they got him in the shotgun or they got him in a pistol, and which is right down Christian McCaffrey's alley. How creative do they get with this young man? Because I don't think he's an every down, hand it off 25 times, throw it to him another 7 times out of the backfield type of running back. He's a small guy. You can see that he's a small guy in the preseason. He's a smaller guy. That being said, though, you still got Jonathan Stewart. I actually have liked what I've seen from Cameron Artis-Payne in the preseason. You got other guys that can touch the rock as well. I'm anxious to see what they do with McCaffrey, and I'm anxious to see what they do with the Ohio State kid as well. They've got some stuff. They're brewing up some stuff in Carolina. I'm anxious to see how it all goes together. KB looks like he's back to rare form. I thought he struggled last year. I think he looks like he's back to what he was 2 seasons ago, prior to the injury or the rookie season when he burst onto the scene, had over 1,000 yards receiving. So they got some stuff. I'm anxious to see what this offense looks like, but it all revolves around the health of Cam Newton. That does scare me, because if he's not healthy, this team doesn't stand a chance. End of discussion. That defense wasn't the same last year. Those young boys, they got baptism by fire last year. They just got pushed into the fire. And yes, they got burned last year. But I told you I liked Darryl Worley when they drafted him. I was pleasantly surprised with what they got out of James Bradbury, because I didn't think he was worthy of a second-round pick. Still don't think it was a smart decision to pick him that early. But you get your guy when you feel the need to get your guy. I think those two on the outside are going to be just fine. You know, I don't really love their safety position. Never have, still don't. Julius Peppers is 967 years old. So is Captain Munnerlyn. We're going to see. We're going to see. I still think there are holes on this football team, but we will see. Can they get to the quarterback? I'm not sold that they can. And I don't think Julius Peppers is going to make that big of a difference, to be honest with you. He's a situational pass rusher at this point of his career. We'll see. We'll see. But my storyline is the health of Cam Newton, the dynamic ability of this offense, and can the defense bounce back from a down year in 2016? And Luke Kuechly's health is vital to that as well. So let's get to the offseason acquisitions. Well, first, the prediction of last year. I had them going 11-5. I didn't think that the Super Bowl loss was going to affect them. I couldn't foresee the injuries to Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly and all the other injuries that they sustained throughout the course of the year. It really hampered them. They weren't the same team. The loss of Josh Norman I knew was going to be big, but I thought they would somehow overcome it all, and they weren't able to. 4-2 in the division is what I thought. They were horrible in the division. They were a doormat in the division. They were 1-5, 6-10 overall. That's going to change this year. I can't see them losing that many games in the division. I actually expect them to bounce back this season. To what extent, we'll talk about that when we get to their schedule. But let's talk about some offseason acquisitions. Julius Peppers comes back, and I just think he wants to retire a Panther. He may give them a little juice off the edge early, but as the season wears on and he starts to get the tread on the tires, it's going to wear down. I don't think there's a lot left there, but we'll see. I could be wrong. Captain Munnerlyn is back. He's okay, but he's not great. Matt Khalil, they signed him. You lose Michael Orr, and we'll see if Matt Khalil, he wasn't that great for the Vikings, but maybe him being reunited with his brother brings the best out of him. We'll see. Re-signed KK Short, which was huge. Got to bring him back, and they did. Jonathan Stewart is back on a 1-year extension. Charles Johnson stays around with a 2-year extension. So you're hoping that he can help. They got a lot of older pass rushers. You want to see some new, young, fresh legs out there. Got a lot of old guys mixed in with some mid-level veterans that are okay, that aren't great, that really don't move the needle for me all that much. So that's another place that I struggle with them, is getting consistent pass rush on the edges. The outs in the middle, they're as good as anybody in the league. It sucked to see Vernon Butler go down. I don't even know what the prognosis was, and I'm pretty sure you guys are still out there as Panthers fans. Somebody tell me what that ended up being. I remember the first preseason game versus the Texans, watching him go down, and he was visibly upset. I think it ended up being like a sprain. It wasn't a tear, but somebody just refreshed me on that. Anyway, key losses. Dave Gettleman, gone. And I can honestly tell you, I'm not sad to see him go. You know how I felt about Dave Gettleman. I'm not going to sit here and beat him up. But I think the guy you're going to miss the most is defensive coordinator Sean McDermott. And you say what you want about this Panthers team last year. The defense battled through injuries. They still were the best part of this football team, despite the losses that they had on that football team. McDermott held it up. And I know you like the guy that you moved up to defensive coordinator, and he was actually a hot name out there as a head coaching prospect. So maybe he'll just slide right in and you won't miss a beat there. But you might miss Sean McDermott. We'll see. Fullback Mike Tolbert, he was a luxury. Don't think you're going to miss him as much. Wide receivers, Ted Ginn Jr., he was a deep threat. Yeah, he would drop the football, but he was a guy you had to account for. Philly Brown, he was a bum. And Paul Soliai, a guy inside that was a rotational depth defensive tackle. I think you'll be fine there. You draft new defensive tackles every single year, it seems like, so you'll be fine there as well. So, like I said, storyline for me here, the health of Cam Newton, the health of Luke Kuechly, the defense, can it get back to 2015 form, and this offense, how dynamic will they be with all of the new pieces on this offense to play with? Mike Shula, a lot of pressure on him to get this offense to perform because they got a lot of talent on it now. Let's get to this schedule, though, and see what the Panthers may be able to do. So, we start week 1 at San Francisco. If you want me to take you serious, you got to beat San Francisco. Remember when this used to be a marquee game on the schedule? Panthers and Niners, 13-10, slobber knocker defense. You knew what was coming. Man, I miss those days. Should be an easy dub on the road against a 49ers team that's probably going to be starting Billy Ho at quarterback. I expect you to go in there and take care of business. On the road, week number 2, or you're at home, versus Buffalo week 2. Another team that I fully expect you to beat. At home, Tyrod Taylor likes to move around. You've got an athletic defense. You should be able to bottle him up, make him uncomfortable, win that football game. Home for the Saints. I have you sweeping the Saints this season. So, go ahead and put the W there. And we'll go ahead and put the other W here already. So you go week 4. You're at the Patriots. Nope, not happening. Then you're at Detroit. I feel, and I said this earlier, that that's a trap game. Matthew Stafford and his offensive weaponry versus your defense. I really don't like that matchup for your defense, to be honest. I think you're going to lose that game on the road. If that was at home, I'd pick you to win that game. And you could easily go into Detroit. It's not like Detroit is the hardest place to play, but I don't like that matchup. They got a lot of athleticism, a lot of guys that can create some mismatch problems for you out of the backfield and at the receiver position. I think they can move the football on your defense. You then come home Thursday night football the following week, and you play a team that you traditionally play well against at home on primetime in the Eagles, and I expect you to continue that with a win there. You then get 10 days off because of that Thursday night game, and that's going to give you every bit of ammunition you need to go on the road and beat a Bears team that, frankly, I don't think is going to be very good this year. So that gives you another W there. At Tampa, let's go back, because I really think I gave this to Tampa, and I think Tampa can beat you in that game. I know Tampa can't beat you at home. Yes, I gave that to Tampa, and I feel confident in giving that to Tampa because Tampa, I think, can beat you at home. I know they can't beat you in Carolina. And so you take an L there, which takes us to your next contest at home versus the Atlanta Falcons, a game that I believe I have you winning, and I do have you winning that game. And you should win that game. That is a game that I feel like you're at home if you want your division back, you got to beat the Atlanta Falcons at home. And last year when they went into Carolina and put 40 on your skull, that let me know that they were coming for what you thought was. They were coming for what they thought was theirs. And they were coming in at your house and they made a statement. I don't think you're going to allow them to make that statement this year. As we move on to week number 10, home on Monday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins. Another game that you should win. So we go to your bye week and you come off the bye and you get a gift. Everybody beats the Jets except the Jags. And because of that, you get another one off the bye. You already said you swept the Saints. So you come off of that and you come home to the Vikings. I believe the Vikings went into Carolina last year and won when they started the season off 5 or 6-0, whatever it was. Special teams was big in that game. Sam Bradford didn't really do much. You're going to win that game. 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 But this is where your season takes a sharp turn and you don't win the division. Here. Don't think Aaron Rodgers and that group doesn't remember you guys beating them in 2015 in that shootout when you were up big and they came back. They got a score to settle with you for that. Home for Tampa. You're winning that game. Tampa doesn't beat you at home. They never do. And you lose the final game of the season at Atlanta. This puts you at, if I'm not mistaken, 11-5, tied with the Falcons. Think you win the tiebreaker and win this division off of your divisional record, however. Falcons were 3-3. And you are 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2 in this division. And by virtue of that tiebreaker, the Carolina Panthers win the NFC South at 11-5. Falcons do make the playoffs as a wild card at 11-5. So, with that being said, let's get to your comments. See if anything is on Twitter first, and then we'll check your comments to see if you guys, what you guys have to say about the Panthers in 2017. All right. So Rick Henrique says he's putting it out here now. Bucks finish 11-5, beat the Giants and Patriots back to back. Wow, it's huge. Reese says, did you see Jameis scold those offensive linemen after Ryan Griffin's injury? Haven't seen it yet. I got it on DVR. I will be watching. Damon Brown says, tell the Panthers to take Bean back. I'm still salty we traded Sammy Watkins away. They did him like Steve Smith. Difference is Steve Smith was a warrior that played almost every game for the Panthers, and Sammy Watkins was a guy that barely was healthy and wasn't getting it done for them. Mo Hunnett says, what do you think about the Panthers playing a 5-1-5 on D? Might be a cool way to play all three defensive tackles at the same time. If that's your best way of getting pressure on the quarterback, I wouldn't have any problems with it. The only issue with that is that could put you at a disadvantage in the run game. So obviously you got 5 defensive linemen on the field. That sounds good in theory in terms of stopping the run, but it also makes it easier for each lineman to put a hat on a hat, which then puts you at a disadvantage. If the tight end can get to the linebacker, if they can get to a double team, get to the linebackers, then it's just secondary guys. It'd be interesting, but I think it'd be a little tough for that to be successful. But you never know. You never know. You guys have some really good penetrators, so we'll see. Mohamed says, how would you use McCaffrey? I would personally use him out wide for the first 2 downs and do something out of the backfield on 3rd down. So the McCaffrey angle is one that interests and fascinates me. I was interested. I was fascinated when they selected him. I didn't know how he would fit. I'm still anxious to see what they're going to do when Cam comes back, because I don't think we've seen half of what they have in store for him. Then they're not going to show you that in the preseason, nor should they. So I really feel like if I'm the Panthers, you're going to get a steady diet of McCaffrey everywhere. McCaffrey in the backfield, McCaffrey being split out in motion as a receiver and having him matched up one-on-one. He's going to be able to, and what that also does, it also allows you to get a formational tell as to what the defense is doing, man-to-man or zone, depending on who goes out there with him. When you send him in motion, and I would toss it to him out of the backfield, get him out on the edge. I would run him out of shotgun, some pistol looks. I would get him the football in some jet sweeps. He would touch the football in so many different ways, and then every now and then, again, I would sprinkle him in on some special teams, on a punt return. So I would have this guy doing some of everything. Damon Brown says, Brendan Butler sprained his left knee. Good. I'm glad to hear that he only sprained it. Sean Mack says Panthers go 7-9 or 8-8. BE says I got the Panthers going 6-10 with a 2-4 division record. Ouch. Dizzy Diz says, did you hear some of the stuff on Bradbury and Worley? They've both had quite a good camp. I told you I was in love with Darryl Worley coming out of West Virginia. He's a big, long corner that can run. I said if he could only locate the football on a consistent basis, stop giving up the deep ball, he'd be fine. As far as Bradbury is concerned, he played at a smaller school, so I wasn't sure how he was going to translate. I actually was impressed with him last year. I thought he came in, played well. He's a long guy. He can run a little bit. Physical, comes up and tackles in the run game. So I was never worried about Worley, even though he had started off a little rough. I was always concerned about Bradbury, and he put me at ease last year. So I think they're going to be just fine at the cornerback position. Clean Senpai says, I see 12-4 that the Panthers are elite and they just couldn't stay healthy last year. We'll see. I think it's a very favorable schedule. That AFC East is a very, very favorable schedule for this division to eat up. And depending on where you play teams, it gives you the advantage. Like if I'm in this division, I want to play the Jets in New York. I can go to New York and beat the Jets. Don't waste that home game. Waste that on the Bills and not have to go to Buffalo. And I think that's what the Panthers did. I think the Panthers have all the teams in the right situation where they play them. It could have easily went the other way, but at home, I just feel like they're going to win. Sean Mack says, Benjamin and Funches can't stay healthy, bro. No way that Cam and McCaffrey and my Buckeye, Curtis Samuel, have enough offense themselves to go 11-5. Just my opinion. Never trust a man with 2 first names. So we'll see what Curtis Samuel does, but he got 2 first names. We'll see what happens. I don't trust him. But we'll see. So that seems to be it. No more comments think I got something on Twitter. I do. At Team Muhammad 23 says 12-4. I got us beating the Pats. You're not going to New England and winning. I don't think. It's possible, but I don't see it happening. So I guess that's the only other one that we have different, because normally he lists what he has. But in any event, that's the NFC South in a nutshell. It's a very competitive division. I've got two teams at 11-5. Panthers barely edging out the Atlanta Falcons for the division crown. I've got the Saints at 9-7, playing some good football, getting better. And then I've got the Buccaneers one season away from making that leap at 7-9. So that's going to do it for your man, Louie Tee. I thank you guys for joining me out there. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie Tee Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. I'll be back tomorrow with two more divisions to break down: AFC North, NFC North. Until then, I am your man, Louie Tee, signing off. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.